right, welcome back everybody. So today we're going to go over assemblies and how to assemble them. So this is one of the CSWA practice assemblies that you can practice on. They have a test for that you can do. And this gives you an idea of how the assembly is supposed to go together. It gives you a coordinate system that you have to set. It tells you how the links are supposed to be oriented. It lets you know where the pins are supposed to be. It calls out angles for certain links in here, as so. And then we have right here, this is where it calls out what it is that you're supposed to do. So you have to create the assembly with respect to the origin as shown in the picture that I just showed you. It is important for calculating the proper center of mass, and we have to create the assembly using the following conditions. Number one, the pins are mated concentric to the chain link holes. There is no clearance. The pinned end faces are coincident to chain link side faces. We're using millimeters, grams, and seconds. We're going to use 2 decimal places and the assembly origin as shown in the image. And these are our values for A, B, and C. And at the end of this, you'll see a question similar to this when you take the CSWA exam, where it's going to say, okay, given all of these values where you've assembled it, what is the center of mass of the assembly in millimeters? And then it tells you if you don't find an option within 1% of your answer, please recheck your assembly. And then it gives you 4 choices to pick from. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and go into Solidworks. I'm going to open an assembly right here, and then it brings up a dialog box for us to pick where we're going to find our assembly at. So for me, it is in the downloads, and it is in this folder, and we have 3 pieces right here. We have a chain link, we have a long pin, and we have a short pin. It's very important when you're doing assemblies, when you're bringing in a part, to bring them in the right orientation, and then remember that the first part that you bring in is usually going to be fixed unless you don't have that option picked in your configuration for SolidWorks. It's easy to unfix something, make it a floating part, and then put something else as fixed, but it can lead to a few issues. So just think about that when you're putting an assembly together based off the information you have. So the first part that I'm going to bring in is a long pin. So I'm going to click that and I'm going to hit open. And I'm just going to say PhotoWorks materials only. I'll hit OK because I'm importing this for the first time. Now you'll see that it brings this part in. If this part's not oriented the way I want it when I bring it in, I can change it over here by selecting these options. And you'll see how they change as I do that, right? So I'm going to bring the first one in, and I'm going to set it up just like so. I'm going to bring that in, and then I'm going to go over to assembly, and we need to insert some more components. So I can hit the drop down and do insert components, and it'll open up my dialog box again, and I can select the chain link. And it's going to ask me this again. Now, it probably won't do that on your exam, but if it does, that's what you would select. All right, so we've got that, and we got one more component that I'm going to bring in, which is short pin. And I'm going to bring that in. I'm going to say yes, and I'm going to put that right here because that's fine the way that is. Now, you'll see that this chain link is not oriented the way I want it, and in this particular instance, it really doesn't matter because this is fixed. So depending on what surfaces I pick over here when I go to assemble this, to do mates, it will all come out the way it's supposed to. So I'm going to come over here to where it says mate. We're still in the assembly tab. I'm going to go to mate. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to click the inside of this hole right here. and you'll see it gives me that option. It lets me know I have the face of that part, that chain link. And then I'm going to select the face of this pin, and you see how it rotates it around and orients everything the way we want it as soon as I do that. So I'm going to hit my green check mark. I'm still in the mate tab, so I don't have to do anything different. Now I can select the top face of this pin or this link and the top face here. It's going to make it coincident, which is what we want, and I can hit my green check mark. Now, I'm short parts, right? I still got to bring in some more links. So I'm going to exit out of mates for a second. I could have done this before I started, but I just wanted to demonstrate this to you. If you hold down control, you bring in one part, and then you hold down control, and you click on this part and drag away, it creates another part for you. So I'm going to do that a couple more times until I have the links in here that I need. And then I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to click this, and it created another one of those, so I'll get rid of that one. I don't need it. And I'll do that right there. And then I'm going to hold and control, and I'm going to click, and now I have everything that I need. Now I still need one more of these pins, so I can go ahead and do that while I'm in here. And we're good to go now. We have all of the parts in here that we need. So now I'm going to go back into my mate dialog here, and I'm going to start putting everything together. So here I'm just going to pick the inside of this hole right here, and then I'm going to pick the face on this chain link, and you'll see that it rotates the other chain link around to fit in there. And then select this face, and this here is just a lot of rotating around. All right, so it's coincident right now, so that's good. I'm going to leave that just the way it is, and then I'm going to rotate this down a little bit because I remember from my drawing here. I'll go ahead and bring it back up so we can see it. That second link is pointed down a little bit, so I'm going to get everything kind of oriented the way I want it, and then I'll start doing everything else as it goes. Okay? So here I click the inside of that pin, that hole right there, and then I click that hole. It makes that concentric, those two holes concentric to each other. Now you'll see I can move this around and it doesn't affect anything. All it does is it keeps these holes concentric to each other. But I needed to move it out so that I could select that face and then select this face. And it's coincident, so I can go ahead and hit my green check mark. And I'm going to exit out or scroll out just a little bit. I'm going to rotate this around, and I'm going to put just a little bit of a bend in here, because remember, that has a bend to it, right? Then I'm going to go ahead and scroll back in here. I'm going to pick that surface, the inside of that hole, and this one here, so it makes them concentric. And then I'm going to click this face and this face, make them coincident to each other, hit my green check mark. And I'm going to rotate this one up, because if I remember correctly, that's the way that was facing. We'll verify it. It sure is. So we're good to go. All right, so now I'm just going to start putting my pins together. Click that, the face of that pin, and then the face of the inside hole there. It brings it concentric. And then I click the face of that pin and the face of this chain link. It makes it coincident, green check mark. And then I'm just going to rinse and repeat until I get everything done. Green check mark here. Hit my green check mark. And then I'm going to do this one here. Coincident, and then coincident. So everything is in there. And then I'm going to do the same thing to this one. Right, so it is coincident. And then I'm going to select the top, and the top, make sure it's coincident. I think it said coincident on the other one. It should have been concentric. And then I'm going to exit out of here for just a second, because this is annoying me, and I'm going to get rid of this. because we don't need it. And then I'm going to go back into mates. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add some angle mates to these links to get everything set up properly. So I'm going to click the face of this link right here and the face of that link right there. And then in this dialog box, I'm going to select angle. And then it gives me an angle right here of what it needs to be. And then I'm going to do, for this one, I'm going to do 180 plus 25. And that sets that where I need it at 25. And then I'm going to set this one I'm going to set this at an angle, and I want this one to be 125. So that one's good. And then the last one that I have to do is this one and this one. That's going to be at an angle, and this one's going to be at 130. And then I hit my green check mark. All right, so we can exit out of here. Now the last thing that we have to do is we have to put in some reference geometry. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to click the drop down and I'm going to select point. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I have arc center selected. And then when I click on this arc, it's going to give me the center of the arc, and I just click right there and it puts a point right there. And that helps me in putting my coordinate system, which is going to be next. It puts it right in there. Now, if you remember from our picture, and I'll bring our picture back up for this, we have a Z facing towards us, X facing down this axis of the chain link down the center, and Y is facing straight up. So what we're going to do here is we're going to add a few mates, and right now I'm on X. So if I select this line, that runs parallel to the direction of X here. That's going to lock that in, but you see how it rotated it around? So if I hit that little double arrow button right there, you see how it flips it back in the orientation that we want it, right? So that's good. Now we're set there. Now we're going to do the y-axis. Well, the y-axis is running the length right here. So we need to have a surface or a line that's going to align with that, which is going to be this one right here. And you see it did the same thing when we did this. So we're going to flip that around to where it looks right. And I think that looks right. And then we'll do Z right there. And you see it flipped it around on us. So we need to turn that one around. And now we have that same look that we wanted before. I'm going to hit my green check mark. See, we have our Y going up, we have an X going this way, and we Z this way, which is the same as our picture right here. Now, if all of our angles are correct, 25, 125, and 130, we will be good to go. 25, 125, 130, we should get an exact match to one of these four answers right here when we go back in there. So I'm going to go back into the drawing here, and I'm going to go to evaluate, and I'm going to go to mass properties. But wait, these numbers don't match, and there's a reason why. So right here where it says that report coordinate values relative to, it's set to default right now. So if we hit that drop down, you see it says coordinate system 1. Well, that is that coordinate system that we put in there. So once I click that, then you see that these values right here changed, right? So we have 348.66, we have negative 88.48, and we have negative 91.40. So let's look and see which one of those four answers that we have on that sheet match up to that. I'm going to guarantee you that it matches up to A. And I'm going to go ahead and minimize this so that we can look at this here. Right? I'm going to drag that off to the side. 348.66. Well, there's only one 348.66. So we're good there, and that's for the X. For the Y, it's negative 88.48. Well, Y equal to negative 88.48. And then for the Z, it is negative 91.40. And we have Z negative 91.40. So we have a match there. Now, in the SolidWorks exam, you're going to get something just like this, and it's going to give you a multiple choice for the for that first assembly right there, right? But on the next assembly, which it'll probably have you do a change to the assembly that you're working on right now, and I'm going to minimize that, and then it's going to say, okay, so what I want you to do is I want you to modify the assembly in this way, and then write down what is the center of mass of the assembly, and it'll give you a dialog box to put in your answer, and that's how you would do that. Okay? So we can see that we're right here. If we go back, I'm going to exit out of here. So let's look at that picture right there. We have 30, 115, and 135. So what do you say we make some changes and see how we come out? Okay? All right, so we're going to go into mates. This is how we're going to fix this. Now, normally what I would do, and we'll do this here too, is I would save this. I'm going to save all, and then I would just I would label this so I know what it is, right? So I would say maybe first assembly, Q1, and hit enter. And then I'm going to go back up here and I'm going to do save as, and I'm just going to change this one right here to 2 because it's going to be question 2. And then we're going to go in here and we're going to make our changes. Okay? So we have 3 angles right here. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to change this first one. So here we have, we say 180 plus 30. Which gives us 210. All right, so we'll hit our green check mark and we'll exit out. And then we had our next one was going to be 115. So we'll come back over here. So for our third one, we're going to edit that feature and we're going to say 115, right? Just like so, green check mark, and then we can green check mark that again, and then our last one, just so we're sure we're on the right one, is going to be 135. So we'll come back in here, we'll do this one, we'll edit that one, and we're going to say 135, so we'll just change that number. Oops. 135. Already out of there. All right. So let's just verify that that one took. I want to make sure that we're good. 135. Okay. So we'll go ahead and exit out. And then all we're going to do is we're going to go back into evaluate. We're going to look at our mass properties. We'll recalculate. And then these are the values that we have now. So this is what you would put in there. It's been a while since I took the test, but I think when it had you input your answers, it had one for X, it had one for Y, and it had one for Z. Okay? But if it doesn't, just follow the directions that they give you on how to input that information, and you will be good to go. Okay? All right. So I'm going to go ahead and save this one, and we are done. I hope you enjoyed this lesson on assemblies. We'll do a few more for the end of the semester. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, leave me a comment down below or ask me in class, and I will see you on the next video.